Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Bryan Arnett. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the incident, then offer my analysis. Bryan Arnett was born on December 14, 2000, and lived in Fillmore, California. This is 56 miles northwest of Los Angeles. In 2012, Bryan started a YouTube channel. For the most part, the videos he uploaded featured skateboarding and boring monologues about mundane topics. According to Bryan, when he was 18, he started working for McDonald's, but quit after 7 months. He then worked part-time for a skate shop and decided to put more energy into building his YouTube channel. When the skate shop closed, making videos was Bryan's only commitment. Sometime around 2020, Bryan started adding prank and challenge videos into the mix. For instance, he made a video where he impersonated an employee at a shoe store. That same year, Bryan started a second YouTube channel called More Bryan Arnett. In addition to his presence on YouTube, Bryan is also on Instagram and TikTok. At some point, Bryan moved into what he called a content house in Los Angeles, an apartment that he shared with a few other people who also maintained aspirations of being a famous social media influencer. In 2025, Bryan moved back in with his parents. He planned on saving money so he could once again be out on his own. At the time I'm making this video, Bryan's main YouTube channel has over 500 videos, 334,000 subscribers, and has been viewed 86 million times. Here are a few video titles that sum up his channel pretty well. How Long Can I Live Inside a Public Gym? The End of Our LA Content House, Arresting My Friend Prank, Breaking the Law in Front of Cops, Trolling in the Drive-Thru, and Delivery Driver Prank on My Viewers' Parents. Now moving to the timeline of the incident. On April 25, 2025, Bryan Arnett released a video that he had recorded 5 days earlier on April 20, Easter Sunday. The video featured him impersonating an employee outside an In-N-Out fast food restaurant in Glendale, California. In-N-Out was established in 1948. The company operates restaurants in California, Arizona, Oregon, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, Texas, and Utah. They are known for putting Bible verses on their food packaging. On the day of the prank, again Easter Sunday, the restaurant was closed due to the holiday. Bryan stood outside the restaurant dressed in a white shirt, an In-N-Out paper hat, and a red apron. He pretended to be a drive-thru worker at the restaurant. Unsuspecting potential customers pulled up and engaged with Bryan, who pretended to take orders, offered menu items that did not exist, and made vulgar comments. For example, to one potential customer, Bryan said, quote, "I like watching my wife sleeping with other men. Is that something you'd be interested in?" Unquote. On June 20, 2025, In-N-Out filed a lawsuit against Bryan Arnett, accusing him of business defamation, trademark infringement, trespassing, and other bad acts. Here is a summary of the allegations contained in the complaint. Much of this is paraphrased. Bryan Arnett impersonated an In-N-Out associate in order to abuse the trust of customers by using lewd, derogatory, and profane remarks. He recorded his behavior on video and willfully disseminated the content online. Here are some examples of Bryan's inappropriate behavior. Bryan instructed an agent to complain that there were cockroaches in his food in front of a potential customer. Bryan then said, "We've had a pretty bad cockroach problem this week." This caused the customer to leave. Bryan instructed an agent to remove a condom from a takeaway bag in front of a customer. He then asked the customer, "Would you like a condom in your order, sir?" Bryan told customers that his manager had put his feet in the lettuce and did other weird blank to the food. He told the customer the store was only serving gay people, which caused the customer to drive away. He claimed the food was exorbitantly expensive, and Bryan asked a customer if he wanted to try doggy-style fries, which he described as real messy. This may have been a parody of the company's animal-style menu options. Presumably referring to other incidents, the company also accused Bryan of taping a fake Employee of the Month plaque on the walls of various In-N-Out stores and refusing to leave after being ordered to do so by employees. The lawsuit indicated that Bryan failed to respond to the company's request to take down the alleged trademark infringement, which was sent to him on May 2, 2025. Bryan responded to the lawsuit in a video. He said, quote, "I am not going to sit here and act surprised. When I went out and filmed the video, I kinda knew what kind of waters I was stepping into. I knew I was kinda teetering the line a little bit, pushing my luck. I wouldn't say I'm worried about the lawsuit. Like, yeah, sure, it'll probably be annoying or whatever, but whatever's going to happen is going to happen," unquote. Eventually, Bryan removed both his original video and his response to the lawsuit video. Maybe he is starting to appreciate how he could be in some serious financial trouble. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Technically, Bryan may be the only target of the lawsuit. However, the lawsuit was filed to send a message to multiple individuals. The chief legal officer for In-N-Out said, quote, "For over 7 decades, we have worked hard to create a welcoming and enjoyable experience for every customer who visits us. Recently, we have seen an increase in online media personalities who have chosen to play pranks or practical jokes that are designed to embarrass, humiliate, or upset our customers, their families, and our associates. These individuals have engaged in behavior that includes deception, trespass, lewdness, and other actions that have been posted on social media for their personal and monetary gain at the expense of our customers and the In-N-Out burger brand. By filing this lawsuit, we are putting all such individuals on notice that In-N-Out Burger will aggressively pursue all legal rights against these individuals going forward," unquote. This is not the first time that In-N-Out has sued a social media influencer. They targeted another YouTuber in 2018 due to similar alleged antics. When looking at this lawsuit against Bryan, I guess one could say that unlike McDonald's, In-N-Out wasn't loving it. Bryan tried to deep fry the burger chain's reputation and ended up with a lawsuit that was supersized. Ironically, Bryan targeted customers who thought they would be served, but now Bryan is the one who has been served. Item number 2. Does In-N-Out have a compelling argument against Bryan Arnett? In my opinion, yes, the company does have a compelling argument. Bryan impersonated an employee and then made offensive comments to potential customers. This is a pretty straightforward case. His actions damaged or could have damaged the In-N-Out brand. The company did not do anything to Bryan. They did not ask him to be there. There was no type of disagreement that he was trying to settle. This wasn't a legitimate protest. Rather, it was simply a bizarre and disturbing social media influencer targeting an innocent company hoping to make money. Unfortunately, engaging in pranks is pretty common on social media. The only thing that makes this case unusual is that one victim of the prank, the In-N-Out restaurant chain, decided to fight back and send a clear message to social media influencers. Enough is enough with this prank nonsense. Item number 3. There are many social media influencers who make a living without engaging in pranks. They work hard just like anyone else in an effort to be successful. Sometimes, individuals without any discernible talent decide they want to be a social media influencer as well. Lacking the ability to make a living through legitimate means, they turn to lazy and sensationalistic tactics, like playing offensive pranks. Invariably, in an effort to achieve fame and wealth, these influencers try to attract more attention by executing increasingly offensive pranks. They violate societal norms and sometimes land themselves in trouble. In the beginning of this social media influencer prank trend, most of the pranks were dealt with by telling the influencers to go away and banning them from various properties. Now, with this latest In-N-Out lawsuit, pranksters need to run an updated cost-benefit analysis. When the greatest likely penalty was simply being banned from a location, maybe it made financial sense to some influencers to continue with the pranks. Now, it probably doesn't. Pulling a prank on the wrong company could result in financial annihilation. Item number 4. What personality characteristics are associated with people who play pranks, like the extreme and offensive pranks posted on social media? Here I am speaking in general terms, not about a specific influencer. The research indicates that sadism tends to be elevated in pranksters. The levels are similar to those observed in bullies and online trolls. Pranksters also have many characteristics from vulnerable narcissism. They are vindictive, insecure, and ruminate on past injustices, whether real or perceived. Executing pranks represents a misplaced attempt to get revenge on people who harm them. Instead of targeting those people, they go after innocent people. Pranksters are often motivated by a desire to elevate themselves above the people they are victimizing. This gives them a sense of superiority. They portray the victims as being uninformed or foolish, even though the victims had no way of knowing they would be targeted by a prank. A typical personality profile for a prankster is mid-range openness to experience, low conscientiousness, high extroversion, low agreeableness, and high neuroticism. Individuals who are high in sadism and regularly view offensive pranks on social media justify it by saying the victim should have known better. If they themselves had been the target, they would have figured out the prank. They would have turned the tables and embarrassed the prankster. Essentially, high sadism individuals adopt the same illogical stance as the prankster. Somehow the victim should have magically known they would be targeted in a prank. Individuals who are low in sadism have a very different reaction when watching offensive pranks. They have empathy for the victims and anger toward the prankster. Now moving to my final item, number 5. What will likely happen to pranksters like Bryan Arnett in the long run? A career as a prankster is not a sustainable endeavor. It's a ticking time bomb disguised as a business plan. Eventually, pranksters may find themselves banned from just about every place they would want to visit. Malls, restaurants, gyms, schools, and even courtrooms, at least those they are not already scheduled to appear in. Due to their videos, their negative personality characteristics are on full display. This becomes their resume. Pranksters find themselves permanently unemployable, boxed in by a legacy of humiliating strangers and calling it content. With their options for earning money reduced, they are functionally sentenced to an eternity as a chronically untalented social media influencer, pathetically clinging to a dream of being relevant. It's a fate worse than death itself. I'm of course referring to what viewers experience, but it's also bad for the prankster. There are several concepts that pranksters will never learn. For example, a lack of shame is not equivalent to possessing talent. Aggravating innocent citizens only attracts sadistic people, not loyal supporters. And monetizing moral bankruptcy may lead to actual bankruptcy. If other companies decide to contend with pranksters in the same manner as In-N-Out, every online prankster should prepare for a new name in the future. Not creator, not influencer, but defendant. Those are my thoughts in the case of Bryan Arnett. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Sometimes people wonder if there is any such thing as a good prank. There are a lot of channels on YouTube and a lot of other places on social media where various levels of pranks are played. Everything from the type of pranks that Bryan Arnett plays, which are clearly extreme and offensive, at least in some cases, all the way down to fairly benign pranks. Pranks that are based on some type of illusion, like some type of strange situation that's staged that attracts people from the outside to look at it. Like people walking down a street might see this strange thing going on and respond with surprised facial expressions. So the prank really isn't personal. It's more like it's just there and then people kind of wander into it. So this has led to this dynamic where some people will say, okay, like the Bryan Arnetts of the world are bad. These are the pranksters that should not be on social media. But these other pranksters, again, they're benign, so this is okay. This is how a prank should be played. I don't know about this. I've thought about this quite a bit as I've looked at these various videos, trying to see if there really was a line where there was like evil pranks on one side and maybe fairly relaxed and socially acceptable pranks on the other side. All pranks, no matter what their level is supposed to be, are based on the idea of deception, convincing people that what's happening is different than what's actually happening. I see a large difference in intent between the good and the bad pranksters, but really functionally, they all possess that deception component. So probably none of them are really healthy. Having said that, I guess one could argue that evil pranks are worse than less evil pranks, but I don't really see them as having levels that much. I don't really see much difference between the good and the bad pranks. In the end, it's probably a bad idea to play any type of prank. Things can go sideways pretty quickly, and litigation, could be the result.